This is an overview of new instructional planning tools that teachers will have through the Linkit system. These analytics show anonymized results of a fourth grade Linkit math assignment. First thing I can do is see that I have 20 students who took it with an average score of 55%. These assignments all have the same level of rigor. So if I administer this at the beginning of the year, I would expect to see a lower score than if I administer it at the end of the year. Ideally, if these are fourth grade standards, by the end of the year, I would expect to see a much higher score. So this was administered mid-year, so 55% feels about right. I can then see the distribution of scores. And then down here, I have 5 different types of reports, and we're going to focus on 3 of those. And we're going to start with the class diagnostic. So in a class diagnostic, what I get is just the aggregate results on the assignment, and it's organized by standards. So I can see here's the standard number, the description, read and write multi-digit whole numbers, and I've got their various scores. I can sort them based on their strength from high to low or low to high. And I see here that 87% score was the average on use place value understanding to round multi-digit whole numbers to any place. So I look at the 87% and you would say, oh, that's terrific. Looks like a really good score for my class. But if I click on this, I can actually drill into the results of the class. And what I see is that I do have a large number of students who really understood this concept. But I also have 3 children who probably need some more work on this, and 2 children who missed a question. Maybe we should go back and see whether there are careless errors or if there was some fundamental concept that they were missing. The next tool we'll look at is the class grouping tool. In this tool, what I can do is organize the individual children across the standards. The last report showed me the aggregate strengths and weaknesses of the entire class, but here we can see the individual performance against the standards. And the system will automatically organize the children into various clusters of similarity. You can see that group 5 seems to be uniformly strong, whereas these students are weaker up in this kind of red-orange area. And I can use this information to help organize my instruction based on available resources. You see that group 1 and 2 have similar strengths and weaknesses, but what distinguishes them is their performance on standard 3. Here you can see that group 1 is weak on standard 3, whereas group 2 is actually strong on it. So maybe I say I'd like to create an RTI group for this group of children, and I also would like to include student Peterson. What's nice is that Linkit creates the groups based on data, but the platform also recognizes that teachers have additional information about the child. And so teachers have the ability to change the groups simply by dragging and dropping. So now I have a group here, group 1, and maybe I want to create an RTI group. So I click Next, and I get the detail on the students. I can add the description of the standards, and then I'm going to change the group name to maybe RTI for K. I can then save the group as a class. And now this class can be shared with multiple teachers, an intervention team, maybe the SDT. It can be used in SAT reviews. But the group can be monitored throughout the course of the year. And another way I can use the grouping tool is to prepare for an upcoming unit. Let's say I needed prior knowledge on 6 and 10. 10 being compared decimals and 6 being compared to fractions. So now I organize, and let's say 5 is too many. I go to 4 groups, and what I see is that I have varying levels of understanding on these 2 standards before I can move forward into a new unit. Here I've got group 1, which has a fairly good understanding of standard 6, not so much on standard 10, whereas this group understands standard 10, but not so much on standard 6. All right, the third tool, which I can use after the assignment, is the item analysis. The item analysis looks at the specific questions in the assignment, and it tells you what are the correct answers, and then if there were any significant areas where there was a common error. So here on question 11, 40% of my students got the correct answer, but 40% of them also chose answer A. So maybe there's an opportunity there, maybe there's just a general misunderstanding. So I look at question 11 by clicking the magnifying glass. Here's the question, here's the correct answer D, but most of my children chose answer A. What was wrong with answer A? I go to guidance, show teacher rationale, and it says, well, students who chose answer A did consider place value. And I can go back and emphasize place value when I'm doing two-digit whole number multiplication. And finally, let's go to student reports. In student reports, I can see the results of each individual child. Here, I've tagged their results by standard, but you can see the correct answer, the student's answer, the class average, the amount of time the student took on the question, and then because I've tagged the questions with standards, you can see what areas that the student has scored well on and perhaps ready for enrichment or questions of higher rigor, and areas that still need development, either because they haven't been taught or because the student has a understanding gap. Can do the same thing we did before, which is click on any question and get the correct answer, the incorrect answer, and the guidance. And if you wanted to, you could change the language from standards to something more parent or student friendly to skills. And now we can say we have things like comparing decimals to hundredths, multiplying a fraction by a whole number, solving multi-step word problems. And you can have a conversation that says, let's look at what the strengths are, let's look at the areas of weakness, and let's lay out a roadmap, how we can work together to build skills. So that's a quick overview of Linkit, a new instructional planning tool that teachers will have in the fall. Thanks so much.